Hey guys. Hey, this is Simply Tammy, and this is kind of a impromptu, unscripted review moment of sharing. I know it's labeled as moment of truth. I used an existing banner that I already had because I haven't even been home an hour. I just got back in town from a retreat, which is the reason that I'm doing this video to share about that experience. So my plan is for this video to be fairly brief, and the ending of this video will include just some of my personal photos and paraphernalia from the retreat. So I was invited by my best friend Tramika to a grief retreat that was hosted by an organization based in Charleston, South Carolina, called A Time of Refreshing. And so this particular organization, founded by Minister Crystal Hayward, is a grief focused, and these are my own words, a grief focused organization. So she has regular sessions where she hosts forums and moments of sharing, and I'm sure other things locally in Charleston for individuals that are experiencing grief of any magnitude. And twice a year, she hosts retreats. So this retreat that we attended was the winter retreat. So I was familiar with Crystal from some business that we did together with one of her books, and then also musically. She's a recording artist, so I have some of her music, so I knew who she was. Had been connected with her on social media. Um, and knew that she was extremely gifted musically with playing and singing and the way she flows prophetically with music. And but it had not been in any of her grief sessions. So when my friend invited me, honestly thinking about grief as it pertains to death, um, most of the deaths, or the two, I would say, um, most extreme deaths, my mom and my sister, have both been double-digit years. So I honestly wasn't considering going to a grief retreat, entertained the idea of going because my best friend invited me, and she was going because she had experienced the loss of her fiance less than a year ago. And so I was going, to be there with her for support, and just, to be able to have that time away with her as a friend. And didn't really know what to expect, or I can't say that I had any expectations. So the dates of the retreat were Thursday through Sunday. So it was hosted in Boone, North Carolina. Again, Crystal is based in Charleston, South Carolina, but the theme of this retreat was Away with Him. So they traveled to a beautiful mountain lodge in Boone, North Carolina for the retreat. And so this was my first retreat where it was both men and women. But the men that were there with their wives, and the house was 10 bedrooms. So, all of the men were downstairs. The women, those of us that were single or traveling alone, were all upstairs. So it wasn't um, anything difficult with being in the house together. And they added such a beautiful piece to the teaching and the
The
sharing.
spirit of heaviness comes to weigh us down with sadness and anxiety and depression and trauma and all of these other things. But the Lord said some things, and we're going to talk about them some more later on. What those things that God gave us to help us to lift the heaviness. Thank you, my brother. But the picture that I want you to really recognize is that what comes with grief is regret. There's a lot of regret comes with grief. Their pain comes with grief. And there's a whole lot, as we turn around, there's a whole lot of sadness that comes with grief. But God gave us something for the spirit of heaviness. And we'll talk about what that is on the back end. Because I want to tell you not just what it is we're facing. You're going to learn why you're facing it as you get closer to the Lord, and He reveals to you what you can get out of this grief experiences that you're having. Because I was sharing with my team down below, It seemed like in my life, it seemed like when someone died in my life, shortly thereafter, something catastrophic happens in the family.
So got there Thursday. Got there a little bit after the bulk of the group because I left a little later due to some other responsibilities. And again, I'm just sharing. This is like hot off the press because it was such a great impact, and I wanted to do it while it was still fresh on the brain. And you can't see my shirt, but I still have on my. I'm gonna be a little camera. I'm my own cameraman right now, so you can still see. I still have my away with him shirt on. That was part of our retreat package. So get there Thursday. We already knew which room we were assigned to. So found my room, unloaded everything, and got in. And then Crystal came around and gave us our retreat packages, which were beautiful bags. You'll see my bag in a picture because I don't have it with me. Um, right here in front of the camera, and some other beautiful gifts that were in the bag that I took some pictures of. You'll get to see. Yes, Lord.
Father,
Hallelujah.
don't let us just sing, but let our worship be acceptable to you.
Yes, Jesus.
Because in fact, it's our reasonable service.
Yes, Lord. Yes,
It's
Lord.
the least we can do. Is worship.
Hallelujah.
It's the least we can do is worship.
And so the plan was, just fellowship that Thursday night, have some opening worship, and dinner, and get to know the others in the house. So we opened up, after we got settled in, maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I arrived. We started our opening session. Those who were responsible for dinner that night, because we had teams for our meals, and you knew which team you were assigned to and what meal you guys were responsible for preparing. So the Thursday night team prepared the meal, and we started off with worship. And what that looked like in each segment was Crystal's keyboard was set up in the common area in the house, so she would just sit down and begin to play it and sing whatever she felt led to play and sing.
Wow, you're everything to me. You're everything. Joy in sorrow. Oh, you're everything to me. You're everything. You're hope for tomorrow. Hope for tomorrow. You're everything to me. Everything to everything. Come on, if you can hear my voice, you're invited to come in the common area for worship. You're everything. Everything.
And of course, we participated through joining in worship. And then there were times of sharing based off whatever it is you wanted to share, whether you had a prayer request, testimony, whatever you wanted to share. And then, that Thursday night again was just getting acclimated with being in the house together, getting to know some of the people. Because outside of knowing who Crystal was, and knowing another lady there, Reverend Rosalind Daniels. If you saw one of the videos I did, the recap video I did the night before, I knew her. And then, of course, my friend Shamika, but I didn't know any of the other people. And I think it was 20 or 21 of us total. I can't remember what our final count was. Um, but it was, it, it already started out like, just a beautiful experience, because I think I was, even though I didn't know what to expect, I think when we think of grief, at least in my mind, because grief is dealing with loss, I probably was not considering going to anything labeled as grief, because who wants to sit around and talk about, how you feel about your loss, or how you feel about the passing of your loved one. And while there were moments and times that included that, that was not the bulk of what the retreat was. It was not in any way a sad or heavy um, atmosphere, environment at any time, to be honest with you. Even when there were stories that were shared that I, literally kind of was taken aback by, because of the atmosphere and environment of worship that had already been established. It did not, heaviness could not come and rest. So, and again, I said this video is going to be short, and I see I'm already longer than I want to be. So the rest of the time there, Saturday, Friday, because we got there Thursday, Friday and Saturday included morning and evening sessions. Well, really morning, afternoon, and evening sessions. We were provided a manual. As I think I mentioned in the beginning, if I didn't, Crystal is a certified grief coach, and she has a master's degree in thanatology. So she has a curriculum that she taught us from about grief. And in the midst of the teaching, it was always moments of sharing,
I get
Q&A.
that because we have trust issues in the black community. Sometimes some of our stuff is so deep, dark, and cloudy. We like, nah, take me to somebody who don't know me. And that's perfectly fine. You have to get it off you. And I know we think, oh no, my best friend is my counselor. My homegirl is that's good to have them now. You need that. Because I got me a little circle that I let it rip or done. These are my friends 20, 25, 30 years that I have. But they're not professionally trained to carry the weight of some of the stuff I have.
That's right.
And some of them don't have the anointing to carry some of the weight that I need to just drop without being judged. So I want to raise in this room for all of us. Get you a counselor. Get you a therapist.
There was never any moments where you felt overwhelmed or felt heavy with whatever your grief process is, because even though it's one of those things we may not run to talk about, grief is a common thread that connects all of us, whether it's by death, by a loss of a relationship, a loss of a career. There is something in your life that has should have initiated a grief process in your life, whether you allowed it or not. So I'm saying all of this to say that I've been on a number of retreats and even hosted retreats myself, but this was truly, truly a life-changing experience. So much so it's been difficult to kind of frame it in words, but I did want to share something verbally and not just share the pictures. So this is a kind of a recap to encourage anyone. It's specifically about this organization, A Time of Refreshing, because I have had this experience with them. If you are in the Charleston area, or if you hear about this organization coming to your area, it is definitely, most definitely worth you having the experience. I will say it probably won't be what you think it will be, but it will definitely exceed your expectations. That's kind of the best way I can put it, to try to even put it in words. Outside of the worship times that we had with Crystal and the teaching times we had, just the sharing among one another, it was wonderful for me, because if you know anything about me, I love sharing stories and having conversations with people to get to know more about them. But to see us as a community of people who many of them had experienced loss within the last 12 months, already being a part of a community and being active in the healing and moving forward process, not the forgetting, because you're not dealing with grief to forget, you're dealing with the grief to live. So for them, to see them, and we had attendees, I know, and I don't know if she was the oldest one there, but there was one lady there that was 80 years old. To look at her, you wouldn't have known she was 80. But to see so many generations, that are willing to be open about this process and be open about the need to have a community, to connect with other people, have an understanding. And for me, because we can maybe look at someone and think we know or make assumptions based off of maybe what they look like, what they sound like. But when I tell you that some of the stories that were shared literally just stopped me in my tracks. I was recording one of the testimonials just for some footage for Crystal. And when it got to a certain point, I literally just had to put my phone down, because what I heard would have never been anyone. I would have lost the bet if someone would have told me this was what I was about to hear. Um, but you really never know. So, one of the things that we were encouraged, which, hit home with me, is to just always be kind. Whether you know that a person has experienced a recent loss or not, whether be by death or whatever their grief process has been initiated by, you really don't know what it took for a person to show up to a space, to be present, to give you a smile, to even speak.
You know, we want to sound real religious. Sometimes it's just your presence. Just show up, bring a card, bring a cake, whatever we do. You don't have to try to preach or say nothing deep. You don't. Sometimes you don't have the words. If we were going to her house, that we what was it gonna say? You don't have words to put on that. And the more you try, you're gonna stumble and it's gonna just mess up. So be prayerful for the people in your presence, whether it's your job, your sorority, your Zumba group, your cousins, because you don't know what people are going through. You're not there, so don't judge. And we have a big thing with that.
Life has so many challenges that we all walk through, grief just being a part of that. But I said all that to say that I am extremely grateful that I had the experience. I'm looking forward to having it again. And I did share this already, but I'll share it in this space as well. For those of us that are in the upstate, in the Greenville, South Carolina area, I am already looking at some dates because I want to bring the healing room experience here. And I say the healing room experience because that's a part of the ministry that Crystal also has in the Charleston area, where she has a location that individuals can come in as she ministers and worships, and you just kind of sit in that space. But it'll be that along with some teaching and sharing. So that we're looking at some dates and looking at some locations to have that here within the next few months, because it's so needed. Like I've, out before this experience, I've had conversations with several people close to me, because we know so many people personally that have experienced or have had to start a grief process as a result of death of a loved one, whether it was a spouse, a sibling, a child. Um, it has been so much more prevalent now, and to know that someone sees your situation enough to create a space and an environment where you can just come. And be and not be the different person because of your situation, but be in an inclusive community that you're loved on through your situation. I think is beautiful and necessary, and looking forward to being a part of having bringing that experience to our area. So that's all I'm going to say. Again, it was life changing. Thank you, Crystal, for fully using and exercising your gift. Looking forward to staying connected and having you in our area. And you guys can see some of the pictures that I captured of myself and some of the participants and some of the items. And you probably will hear some music if all goes well with the video of some of the worship that we experience. As a backdrop to some of the photos. So thank you for listening. Um, I encourage you for your own grief journey to seek out some type of community, some type of space where you can continue to move forward through your healing. So you absolutely deserve it, and it is it's a necessary tool. Is what I'll say. All right, thank you guys for listening.